Hey guys, it's Vandy. I was about to Vanguard deck profiles. If you guys enjoyed, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and sorry. This time we're covering DZ set 7 for Liael Amorta for Keter Sanctuary. So I'm recording this the day that Dear Days 2 comes out because I apparently care about more deck profiles than I care about Dear Days 2. So today we're covering Liael, which is honestly a really fun deck. I really loved it coming out of set 5. It just felt really good with all the support, and now set 7 feels like what I wanted before set 5, and now it feels like we've taken a step backwards. I don't know, at least for me personally, because I really like set 5 support. So let's get the start shot and see what we got. First of today, we have our energy generator. You might ride deck crest in your ride deck, auto ride deck. When you ride, put this card to your crest zone. If you win second, you get to energy charge 3. Continuous may happen to 10 energy, and auto beginning of your ride phase, energy charge 3, and act once per turn, energy while 7, draw a card. Cool, you get a free 3 energy every turn. If you win second, you get an extra 3 energy on top of that. And if you end up not using your energy at all in this deck, which most of the time you don't, you just spend 7 energy straight out to draw a card. All around pretty solid. It's a way to increase hand, and it's an alternate form of resource that you can have, and it's required by the rules, so obviously we have it in our ride deck as a ride deck crest. Moving on to our starter, we have Player of the Ophidian to Benista, grade 0 boost, 5k show, 6k base, auto road pine. If you have second, draw a card, standard starter, nothing special to free draw if you go second. You can make this any starter you want, none of the ride line requires Benista. I just choose to make it Benista because I like running the canonical ride lines of the deck. Moving on to our over trigger, we have Light Dragon DD of Honors Amorta, grade 0 boost, 50k shield, 5k power. Over trigger, you may only have one over trigger in your deck. Or revealed as a trigger, move that card, draw a card, choose one of your units, it gets plus minus for the turn. If it a jet check, activate its addition effect, which you get until end of your turn. You also perform jet checks about your rear guard attack. I'm pretty solid because this deck does have a way to get multiple drive checks with your rear guards. Hint, hint, very specific dragon we'll cover later. But in case you don't end up seeing that dragon, or in case you need other ways to get drive checks, or you just want to use that dragon's most drive checks that you can, then you flip over Tinoa. You could definitely run Volna for more consistent multi-attacking. That is fair. You could run the light over trigger for killing a bunch of stuff and getting a bunch of hand cards. That's also fair. Isphoria for recycling, or the dark over trigger for healing and calling. But I like to run the nation over triggers, therefore I run Armor Tinoa, because why the hell not? Moving on to our other triggers, we have 3 copies of Protection Magic Proby, grade 0 boost, 5k shield, 4k base, continuous guard circle. If your opponent's vanguards are grade 3 or greater, add 5,000 shield. So you know, Proby's a 10k shield, nice to have. It's also a draw trigger, so it helps increase the hand. You can definitely run fronts. I prefer draws though, just because I like to have hand cards, and every time I play this deck, I fear that I'm going to draw triggers, because like one of the first times I played this deck, I only drew triggers, so I feel like I have to have Proby just to make myself feel good. So 3 copies of Proby. Then we have a total of 8 crit, 4 copies of Chevalmia, grade 0 boost, 50k shield, 5k base. You can make this any crit you want. I choose to make it Chevalmia because Liael was like, I don't think he was Raziel's girlfriend, but like she was, you know, Hikari uses Liael, who is the sister of Akina, who uses Raziel. Therefore, if he has a trigger, she has the same trigger. So 4 copies of Chevalmia, that's why he's here. Then we have 4 copies of Blade Feather Dragon, grade 0 boost, 50k shield, 4k base, critical trigger, auto rear guard, and by the boost is shovel to soul, choosing gift to of the turn. Okay, this deck really wants soul, especially because now after doing the Ezelin of the Vanity, revealing the new Liael cards, I now realize one of the cards I've been using as a CB cost actually costs soul. So this deck needs soul even more, so I definitely recommend you run this crit just to send to soul in case you do need an extra soul charger. So 8 crit for pressure, and finally 4 heals and Bringer of Distant Sounds Uranus, grade 0 boost, 15k shield, 5k base. Same reason why Chevalmia is here. Akina used this as his heal trigger, which means Liael's gonna use it as her heal trigger. I stand by that statement. Moving on to our grade 1s. We run a card that I swear to you should be at 4, and the only reason it is at 2 is because to a technical extent, I cannot in good conscience do this deck profile if I don't put this at 2 and add another card, which is Gragon. So for the record, let this be clear, the next card I'm going to go over after this one, don't run in your deck. Put Gragon at 4. I'm only doing this so I can at least say to myself that I can do this deck profile, because I have certain rules that I do of whether or not I do deck profile in the deck or not. So grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base, continuous rear guard circle. If your unit was placed by the ability of Vanguard of Divine Skill, this unit gets auto rear guard, and then that it boosted, retire it, counter charge 1, it gets 5,000 power. So cool. The second someone's called by Liael's ability, you don't have to have Divine Skill during the match, as long as Liael's the one that called it because she has Divine Skill. Automatically Gragon will be a 13k base for the rest rest of the turn. And at the end of that, he boosts, he retires himself, which allows you to countercharge, which helps the deck out a lot with a CB problem. I feel like now I'm going to have less of a CB problem because, again, the card I mistook for a CB instead of a Soul Blast is going to probably make the difference. But hey, it's nice to have countercharge, especially because you want to use your CB on Gabuelas. Spoiler alert, that's a great threat I was talking about earlier. And also, you're going to want to use CB on Liael Amorta, which does kind of cost heavy each other, especially if you're spamming Gab every single turn. So 2, technically 4 of Gargon to make sure you can have countercharging power, but also being a 13k booster is nice. And then we have 2 copies of the card that if you are a normal person, I wouldn't recommend you run. I only run her because this is the support that I was talking about, how I wish we got this back in set 5. Not to say that I didn't like the set 5 support, because like I said, I really love the set 5 support. But now that we have this, I feel like we took a step back because I like the set 5 support much more than I liked having this now, which is Divine Sister Kogamian. And I also only run this because, like I said, I have special rules where when I do deck profiles, I'm only allowed to do a deck profile if I add at least 2 new cards to a deck. If I don't, then I'm not allowed to do a deck profile, which is why this is here instead of 2 more copies of Grongon. Anyways, onto the skill of Kogamian. Great on boost, 5k shield, 8k base, auto input bound from Rearguard Circle by the ability of a Grade 3, get a Vanguard of Liael in the card name, choose a unit and get 5,000 power for the turn. If you've already Divine Skilled, so unlike Grongon, who does not require you to have Divine Skill, your Vanguard just has to have Divine Skill, but if you use a Divine Skill to this fight, you choose 2 instead of 1. That's cool because a lot of the times when I would use Liael before set 5, there would always be a time where I would have a unit on my board, or like I would have to be past the point of Divine Skill. My opponent would still be alive, and now it's a bloody fist fight to the death, and I'm now swinging with Liael and binding whatever's left on my board just to try to make extra attacks, and having Kogan here, who could give 2 units 5k to make sure the 2 grade 1s I'm randomly clawing off the wazoo can at least hit without relying on RNG triggers, is great. Too bad the deck already feels like it doesn't need this, and the only reason she is here is A, in case that situation does come back up again, but B, just so I can in good conscience do the deck profile. So 2 of Kogan. Her skill is nice, and again, this is the support I always wanted for Liael, but after set 5 and then set 7 support made it even more clear that they didn't need it. I just feel like she's not needed here, and I'm like literally just putting it here. So again, in good conscience, I can put this as a deck profile. Moving on to 4 copies of Magic of Stimulus Euphoria. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base, continues Rearguard Circle during the battle that she boosted. If your Vanguards are grade 3 or greater Liael, she gets 5,000 power. So cool, 13k base the second she boosts, regardless of what she's boosting. And then auto Rearguard, when this unit boosts a grade 3 or greater Vanguard of Liael in the card name specifically, she'll get another 2k. So when she boosts the Vanguard, she'll be a 15k booster. And then by Soul Blasting 1, you can choose up to any 1 card with this from your drop zone with the same name as any unit on your board, bot deck it, choose a unit, give 5,000 power of the turn. The best part is, this doesn't specify what the unit has to be, so if you really want to take that risk and call, I don't know, Chevalmia to board, and then bot deck Chevalmia from the drop zone just to consistently recycle crits, you can. Should you? No. Can you? Yes. So all around Euphoria is really great. I mean, you know, you can use her to recycle your superior call targets such as Gabuelas, but also her being a 13k/15k booster consistently once you hit grade 3 is awesome. And again, her ability to send back literally any card in your deck is just makes her really wonderful. So 4 of, even if she does eat into the soul problem a little bit, hence why we have Blade for the Dragon. Then we have 4 copies of Swordsman of Twinstance Istar, the other really good support card that I like from set 5. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base. We already know I love this card because for those of you that don't know, I love double swords, so him having twin swords is great. But then also for some reason, I've just grown fond of like pink hair / pink armor in certain cards, mainly because I realized Blonde Ezel has pink armor, and I don't know, I just like this card. So anyways, auto back or rearguard circle. When your rearguard in the same column as it is bound by the ability of your grade 3 get a Vanguard Liael in the card name, stand this unit. The important note is it says bound, not called to it. What that means is, say for example, you want to multi-attack and you're running a card like Caribe, who is on plays, counter blast 1, soul blast 1, check top 3, call something. God, I haven't seen a deck that runs Caribe in so long. But anyways, you do that, and then what you do is you boost Caribe with Istar, then you swing with another column, then you swing with Liael, then you bind Caribe, but you call Caribe on top of the other column that doesn't have Istar. Istar stands herself, because the Caribe was bound, and then use that one skill to superior call something else from deck. All around, Ishitir is a really great grade 1, ends up proccing as long as something is bound, is not a once per turn, and does it for absolutely free, so it's an easy 4 in the deck because it allows for infinite boosting essentially. Then we have 4 copies of our PG and Bringer of Protection Kethlon, grade 1 boost, 0 shields, 6k base, continuous sentinel after 4 sentinels, and deck can also put on guard circle, choose one mute. It cannot be hit on the battle if your hand's 2 more cards in it. Choose a card from your hand and discard it, standard PG. Nothing to specify that. Basically means if this is only one of the cards in your hand placed on guard circle, you don't have to discard. It's great, because that means you'd be as aggressive as in the early game. Spam the ever-living hell out of these ones, and then when your opponent does counterattack you, throw down PG, middle finger, you're good to go. Best part is Amorta does have a PG skill, so if you need to rely on that, you can. You don't want to, though, because you want to use Amorta for persona writing, obviously, but there you go. Having Kethlon as a PG and having Amorta the backup PG means you have a total of 8 PGs you can use to defend yourself with throughout the game. So it's nice having 4 copies of that on backup, so you don't have to use Amorta outside of persona writing. You can also use any of the PGs you want, because they'll have the exact same skill as Kethlon. You could use Paladinium Zeo Dragon, Aegis Meyer Dragon. I choose to make a Kethlon because they came out close to the time of Liael Amorta's release. Moving on to our last grade 1 in the deck, 1 in the red deck, none in the main deck, of Player of the Lovely Harp Adorphus. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base, auto and wrote upon by Player of the Beautiful Chord Elgenia. Soul Boss 1, draw 2 cards, choose up to 1 unit card from your hand and discard it. If you did not discard normally, choose 2 cards from your hand and discard them. I love how this card is just straight up Ranker Chain from Zorga, except it's on wrote upon, and it does almost the exact same thing, except you discard normally instead of orders, which is great. It's a nice way to fill up the drop zone, which does proc with the grade 2, but I like how it has no actual implications towards the rest of the deck, because no one else wants to have normal units in drop zone outside of technically Euphoria, who again I say you want to send back triggers with, but hey, is what is, you do you. 1 of Adorphus in the ride deck though, none in the main deck because she has no rear guard skills, but her draw 2 skill is really nice. Moving on to our grade 2s, 4 copies of Sword Saint of Itinerant Idris. I really thought I was gonna ditch him in this deck, but honestly, he's too good for me to ditch. Also, he has been like the savior several times with Liael at this point, to the point where I feel like I have to run him, at least until I can't anymore. Grade 2 intercept, 5k shield, 10k base, continuous rear guard during turn. If your bind zone has a card with the same card name as this unit, it gets 10,000 power. So the first swing he has, so probably won't do anything, but the second swing he has, because you're probably superior calling and copying from Liael, he's automatically a 20k from that point onward, which means he's going to be constantly swinging for at least a 10k drop. Following that, auto and bound from rear guard circle during your turn. If your Vanguard's a grade 3 guard to Liael, regardless of what grade the opponent's Vanguard's at, Soul Boss 1, draw a card, choose a Vanguard, get 5,000 power for the turn. Cool, he increases the Vanguard's power, so if Liael Amorta is swinging for its second attack and it has no boosters, there you go, you can up her power. He also gets you an extra draw to technically replace the card to Soul Bossing / replace the copy of himself, and again, once you have a second copy in bind zone, automatically 10,000 power. Really good for just for beatdown pressure and good for keeping up consistency. The only downside is he does eat into the soul, but we work with what we got. You just got to manage your soul properly, which is why I put him in as a 4 of. Then we have 4 copies of Sequence Wizard, who has to be in here because this is our main way to manage the soul. Grade 2 intercept, 5k shield, 10k base, auto and placed on rear guard circle during your main phase. If your Vanguard's a grade 3 or greater Liael, CB1, check the top 5 to 1 grade 3 allows unit card from one of them, call it to rear guard circle, and shuffle the deck. The best part is, unlike most cards that can superior call from top 5, Sequence Wizard can actually proc themselves. So you can just call one, immediately call a second one, and then because it can be placed from anywhere, as long as it's just placed during your main phase, you can do it again. So cool, it's a nice way to build up the board. That I actually did that once. I think it was like one of my first 3 games with this deck, actually. Not this deck, but like set 5 Liael. But being able just to fill out your board is great. And then auto rear guard, when your other unit is bound by your Vanguard's ability, he'll get 5,000 power for the turn, and then you may soul charge 1. So not a mandatory soul charge, which is great, so if you're afraid of decking out, you don't have to, but it's a free soul charge, and Sequence Wizard will gain 5k. And the best part about that, unlike every other unit this ability would be tied to, Sequence Wizard does not have to be put in the front row. Think about that for a second, because there's a reason why I bring that up. A lot of units that have like a really good resource gaining skill tend to have to be restricted to the front row, especially for a specific deck, but Sequence Wizard doesn't do that for some reason, and I'm not complaining. So you can just put 2 Sequence Wizards in the back row, make the rest of your board whatever the hell you want, and just go through combos and double Sequence Wizard, soul charge 2. Their extra 5k won't do anything, but at least you're still gaining resources to spam the everything hell out of Adrius and the rest of your support cards. So 4 of Sequence Wizard, really good for numbers when your other units are being bound, good soul charger, and it also gets your rear guard on board as well, making a solid 4 of just for overall good consistency. Moving on to 4 copies of the grade 2 whose cost I got confused with the CB. CB, Knight of Glistening Blade, Liael. Also, the only reason this deck was rebuilt, because I did not realize that they were really going to try to make Gabrielis a Liael Amorta card. I mean, it makes sense because Erica, aka Future Hikari, did end up becoming infused with Gabrielis. I didn't think they would actually do it though, so that's why I never put it in the deck originally, but now canonically, since they're a thing, I'm going to have to do that, and they also gave us a port card that specified it, so there's that. Anyways, grade 2 at 5k shield, 10k base, auto placed on rearguard circle. If your Vanguard's a grade 3 regarder with Liael in the card name, Soul Blast 1, check the top 7, choose up to 1 grade 3 regarded card of Liael in its card name from among them, or up to 1 specifically Blessed Dragon Gabrielis. So this can search any Liael, but it has to be specifically Blessed Dragon Gabrielis from among them. Reveal it, put it to hand, and shuffle your deck. Cool. Simple Soul Blast. It gets you the Persona Rider, gets you a really good rearguard drive check. And then continues rearguard during your turn. If your Vanguard's a grade 3 regard to Liael, she gets 5,000 power. So 15k basis by being a grade 3. But if you have Blessed Dragon Gabrielis on either your rearguard or in your bind zone, she gets 10k instead. So the second you have a Gab on board, she is a 20k. The best part about this is Gab can be bound. So remember earlier when I said like there were games where you would just end up in a bloody fist fight just trying to get whatever you can to win? Well, if you run out of Gabs because your opponent kills one of them and all the rest of them are in bind zone, well, even if you can't call another one, just call Liael, and because one is in the bind zone, she'll automatically be a 20k base. So yeah, very good grade 2 for like end game in case things go haywire. And let's mention the fact again, really good top 7 skill, albeit at the cost of a Soul Blast, which is kind of annoying, but hey, that's what Sequence Wizard Soul Charge 2 from the back rows for. So 4 of Liael, just good grade 2 all around. I also really love her sword that like has like kind of the starry finish at the end. It just looks really cool to me. Then we have our last grade 2 in the deck, one of in the right deck, none in the main deck, of Player of the Beautiful Chord, Algenia, grade 2 intercept 5k shield, 10k base with her lovely little angel wings, auto when wrote upon by a grade 3 card of Liael in the card name. Choose any number of normies from your drop zone and bot deck them, and if you chose 3 or more cards, draw a card. Cool. So you can constantly send units back. You can also send the starter back that you Soul Blast out from Euphoria or Adorfa. The only downside is the starter won't go to bottom of deck, but this is where you're kind of just guarding like hell, and hopefully you see a bunch of duplicates, and then you just send back all the duplicates so that you can call the ones that you still have in hand to rearguard, and then bind them for Liael Amorta's skill and call a copy of them from deck. Either way, the Algenia being able to bounce stuff back to your deck so you can get more fodder for Liael Amorta and possibly get you a draw out of it as well is super great. So I like having her as a one of in the right deck, none in the main deck. On to our grade 3s. Run 3 copies of the dragon himself. Even though it's just a glimmer of hope, a miracle will descend upon those who reach out their hands. Blessed Dragon Gabrielis, to say more or less the Japanese line. Wazukawa hikari demo tel no basu no mayori kiseki no mayori. I think that's the rest of it. I don't remember if there's more after that. Anyways, grade 3 to 9% 13k base. Auto placed on rearguard circle. Soul Blast 1. Check the top card. Put the top or bottom. If you put at the bottom, these units 5,000 power for return. Before I realized that grade 2 requires a Soul Blast, I spammed the ever living hell of that skill. But now that I do know it has a Soul Blast, I might not use that skill as much. But being able to stack the top card and basically always send it to bottom, because you're probably going to swing with Liael immediately before you do your drive checks, which means Gap's is going to get a free 5k, because regardless if it's a trigger or not, you're not going to get to drive check it. So 18k base right there for at least one attack is great. And then auto rear guard, when this unit attacks, if your damage zone has 4 more cards in it until end of battle, he'll get 5,000 power for the turn. Just a free 18k swing once you have 4 more damage. But if he was placed by card ability of the Vanguard with Faded 1 in the card name, and you perform no drive checks without a rear guard attack this turn, CB1, he'll get 10k and lose a drive instead of get 5,000 power, and he'll also be able to perform drive checks. So 23k swing with drive checks at the cost of a CB, which is great. He just has to be placed by the Vanguard's ability. And again, that deck stack, not only is it great for just giving him a 5k, because you know you're just going to shuffle the deck before the Vanguard sweep anyway, but it's a way just to send a non-trigger to bottom in case you just want to increase your chance of seeing triggers, especially if the Vanguard isn't going to swing again, or you have less drive checks and you just want to increase your odds of Gabrielis getting a trigger and a drive check. So 3 of Gab, you can run 4 to make him more consistent. I do kind of feel bad because if I had a 4th Gab in one of my matches, I would have won. But I feel like the CB, and I definitely now feel like the Soul would be a little bit too heavy to manage, so I'd rather just keep Gab at 3 personally. I mean, 3 is more than enough. It's still enough to hit twice, so I'm fine with that. Then finally, we have our last card in the deck. 3 in the main deck, 1 in the right deck of our Holy Queen herself, Faded 1 of Time, Liael Amorta. Grade 3, turns out Persona at 13k base, the 7th Faded 1 descends. Auto Vanguard, when she attacks into anything, CB1, choose one of your rear guards and bind it, and search your deck for up to 1 copy of that card, call it to rear guard circle, shuffle the deck. Cool, deck cleanse for 1 card and get you an extra attacker on board. Following that, auto when she's put on guard circle, by ditching a hand card and putting any 2 cards from your bind zone at the bottom of your deck in any order, choose one of units with Fatal 1 in the card names and cannot be hit in battle. So you still have to wait till you basically attack twice with her, so either your Divine Skill turn or your second grade 3 turn for that PG ability to be proccable. At least you'll be able to proc as a PG once you have 2 cards in bind zone, and is also a way to recycle your gaps so you can use them on the next turn. Finally, obviously her most important divine skill, Auto Vanguard. At the end of battle, she attacked into anything. If your opponent's Vanguard is a grade 3 or greater, choose a copy of her from your drop zone and you may ride it as stand. If you road, she loses a drive for the turn. Cool, so she can superior stand herself for straight up no cost, and because her ability is not a hard once per turn, you can just keep using that again, which is great. And the best part is, worst comes to worst, you could, use one as a PG fodder and then just superior ride that one on the next turn. But the preferred hope is you just hard persona Liael Amorta, and then the one that was in your soul before, you soul blast out with Gab, or literally anyone else that has a soul blast skill, and then you automatically have it in drop zone for your divine skill ability. While also getting 10k from persona, but hey, whatever happens, you just work with what you got. Either way, the Liael Amorta is an amazing grade 3 because she gets you multi-attack for very little cost. She has a free PG skill, making a total of 7 PGs in your deck, even though you mostly only want to use 4 of them on actual PGs, and only the other 3 are just in case the situation comes up. And then as for the divine skill, well, it's a free restand, so who's going to argue with that? So obviously she's an easy 3 of in the main deck, 1 of in the ride deck. And without further ado, for this one, I hope all of you enjoyed. Like I said, originally when Liael Amorta first came out, I did not really like this deck. It felt really weird trying to balance out the attack and defense. Then when set 5 came out, we got really good support in just like everything that we did get, mainly in Sequence Wizard and Ishtar, and I really loved using them. And then set 7 came out, which gave me the support that I wanted for set 5, which was disappointing because set 5 already gave me much better support than set 7 did, but it gave me one really good grade 2 to at least make worth building this deck. So without further ado, I'm going to this one here. I hope all of you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Join the Discord, Twitch, and I'll see you all in the next one. Send up your Vanguards.